In most corrupt countries where there are relative anti-graft agencies, politically exposed persons rely on money laundering to save their ill-gotten wealth. This they do by usually moving stolen public funds to other countries. The major cause of the infrastructural deficiencies was insufficient funding, lopsided allocation of resources, and official corruption. By stealing the funds meant for public services and infrastructural development, corrupt public office holders leave needed infrastructural projects dilapidated, exposing citizens to preventable harm. Hey guys! Welcome to another Reviewed for You Travels. In this one we'll be showing you the 10 most corrupt countries in the world according to CPI. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing and don't forget to like and ring the bell to be notified to our next video. Thank you, keep it groovy. 1. Somalia. The sub-Saharan African country is bedridden with corruption that is ravaging every aspect of its existence. Compounded by conflict and civil war, which resulted in the destabilization of government, Somalia has been reeling at the mercy of corruption. Currently, it is weakening its state-building efforts, undermining democracy, human rights, and rule of law. In addition, it is raising rates of crimes and terrorism. To make things worse, state actors do not show enough commitment to quell corruption. 2. South Sudan. In 2012, President Salva Kiir made an appeal to government officials, who said had stolen $4 billion from government coffers to return the money. He said most of the funds had been hidden in foreign accounts when the newborn country is in dire need of money to fund development. Kiir's lamentation highlighted the level of corruption that's followed the North African country since its creation from Sudan in 2011. It has witnessed havoc-wreaking corruption that has limited its economic development to the barest minimum. Corruption permeates all sectors of the economy and all levels of the state apparatus and manifests itself through various forms, including grand corruption in clientelistic networks along tribal lines, Amnesty INTL. Set of corruption in South Sudan. 3. Syria. The war-torn Middle Eastern country has three major aspects of corruption. Firstly, bribery. This is widespread in all sectors of Syria. Secondly, abuse of power, and this is according to the penal law in Syria. Abusers of power exploit their connections with decision-makers, real or virtual connections, to trap their victims into financial or moral payoffs. Third and lastly is the embezzlement of public funds. The major cause of widespread corruption in Syria is a dictatorship. A system of government that does not allow adequate freedom for checks and balances. It stifles press freedom, thereby creating protection for those in power to loot public funds. 4. Yemen. Yemen is another of the countries whose case of corruption is characterized by conflict. The Middle Eastern country has been in a war that has claimed over 233,000 lives for more than 6 years now. The situation exposed the poorest Arab country to severe corruption. UN said the warring factions, the Iran-aligned Houthi militias, and the legitimate government of President Abd Rabbo Mansour Hadi are both accused of money laundering and diverting funds meant for humanitarian purposes. This has exposed the country to widespread extortion, racketeering, and bribery, making it one of the most corrupt countries in the world. 5. Venezuela. Most sectors of the Venezuelan economy suffer from endemic corruption due to the highly politicized and ineffective judiciary that is inefficient in cracking down on corruption and impunity. The Venezuelan legal framework criminalizes several corruption offenses, including extortion, passive and active bribery, and abuse of office. However, the legal framework does not include the bribery of foreign officials. Enforcement of anti-corruption legislation in the country is very weak, and government officials do engage in corrupt practices with impunity. Bribery and facilitation payments are widespread. Gifts given in return for an undue advantage are illegal under Venezuelan law, however, the practice is recurrent in most sectors. 6. Sudan. Corruption is present in all sectors and across all branches and levels of government in Sudan. The sub-Saharan African country scored 16 out of 100 and ranked 174 to 180 in CPI. In Sudan, public servants are known to demand bribes for services that individuals or companies are legally entitled to. Government officials hold direct and indirect stakes in many enterprises, which distorts the market through patronage and cronyism, and the head of state and government is believed to have embezzled up to $9 billion from oil revenues. 7. Equatorial Guinea. Political corruption in Equatorial Guinea is high by world standards and considered among the worst countries on earth. It has been described as an almost perfect kleptocracy. Here the scale of systemic corruption and the ruler's indifference towards the people's welfare places the country at the bottom of every major governance indicator or ranking. They are even placed below other nations with similar per capita GDPs. The CPI ranked the West African country 174 to 180 countries. The government is controlled by a limited group of powerful individuals who divert most of the country's revenues into their own clandestine bank accounts in other nations. This country is among the most corrupt nations in the world. The high level of corruption has left the majority of its citizens poor even though it is a rich country. 8. Libya. According to GON Integrity, all sectors in the Libyan economy suffer from widespread corruption. However, the public procurement sector and the oil industry are among the most affected. Bribery and favoritism are common practices in all sectors, and companies may struggle with unfair competition from state-owned businesses, which also dominate the local market. Corruption was rampant under Gaddafi's rule, and the situation only worsened in the post-revolution period. The institutional framework to combat corruption is weak, and the rule of law is undermined by political instability and violence. The Libyan Constitution Drafting Assembly is still in the process of writing the constitution, resulting in all laws being derived from the constitutional declaration that came into force after the ousting of Gaddafi. Nonetheless, the judiciary and the security apparatus are ineffective, rendering the enforcement of the law very weak. Libya scored 17 out of 100 to rank 173 to 180 in the 2020 Corruption Perception Index and has been in the rank of most corrupt countries in the world since 2012. 9. North Korea. There is an endemic system of corruption that pervades all aspects of life in North Korea. The brutal dictatorship regime keeps announcing rigid rules that prohibit freedom and the right to expression. A 2019 UN report asserts that the state-run public distribution system collapsed in the mid-1990s, forcing people to work in informal markets, where they have no choice but to bribe officials to avoid arrest. The result is a high level of hunger that affects around 10.9 million people, more than 43% of the population. North Korea ranked 170 to 180 after scoring 18 out of 100 in the CPI 2020. 10. Democratic Republic of Congo. Corruption permeates all levels of society from petty bribery and grand corruption to illicit financial flows. Characterized by clientelism, rent-seeking, and patronage. The situation has been aggravated by prolonged civil conflict and a lax anti-corruption fight. State actors practice corruption with impunity. DRC thus becomes one of the most corrupt countries in the world. The ruling elite has a direct stake in the country's economy, and often steer economic activities in accordance with their own personal opportunities. The country's economic future is thus marred, becoming the least competitive in the world. DRC scored 18 out of 100, ranked 170 out of 180 in the 2020 CPI and has been ranked among the most corrupt countries since 2012. Do you like our video? Let me know your thoughts. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking the button above this video.